Welcome to NuttieBuddie Sports.
Okay, anything else for the from the first 2 weeks you want to hit on?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's go into our next part of our podcast. What we're going to do, guys, is we are going to play a game, red light, yellow light, green light. So this is what we pitched at one another. I don't know what he's going to tell me. I don't know what Clinton's going to tell me. He doesn't know what I'm going to tell him. But we're going to start out by making a statement. It's going to be sort of maybe hot take is the right word. Maybe one we believe in or one we heard that we found interesting. But and then the other guy is going to say red light, like, no, stop right there. That's a dumb thought. Yellow light, like, okay, I can see it, but I'm not always all the way there yet. Or green light, like, yes, that is a good opinion, basically. So that's how it's going to work. So to get us started, Clint, why don't I hit you with my first one, okay?
Shoot.
Okay, so this is my first statement, and I passed this one. So if Chris is listening, I passed this off to Chris yesterday, and he told me it wasn't really hot takey, so I don't know how this is going to go. But here's my first one. Jared Goff is the second best quarterback in the NFC North. Right now, he is ahead of both Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins in both QBR and QB rating. He has.
I will go. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll go with the yellow. I don't think it's crazy. It's just, you're a Lions fan, so I like it. I'll go yellow light. Like I would put him third, but and it's not like Kirk Cousins is this amazing quarterback. He looked good in week one. He did not look good last night, but I think with that offense that they're installing, I think that'll be one as the year goes on that their offense will look crazy. And Jared Goff, as I said, he looks good, but I think theirs might be a product of our defense is actually not very good. So we're gonna Blake Bortles our way through the year and score a bunch of points and be like, I don't know what we actually have here at quarterback.
Yeah, okay. I have it as yellow as well. Personally, I wanted to say, actually, I actually presented this to Luke as well, and he actually brought up a good point that let's see if I can, I'll just read it real quick, because I was like, oh, this is actually probably more factual than what, I can't find it. So he basically said, oh, okay. He says Cousins has literally always done this. 1 week he's a stud. The next week he's a complete crapshoot. Next week the next week he's amazing. Week after that he's garbage. Goff has a lower ceiling, but he might be more consistent of the two. And I think maybe that's where that's the right take. But right now I'm just saying he looked better the first 2 weeks than Cousins did if you put their first 2 weeks together. So
I think with that Kirk Cousins statement, I think I saw something came across on Instagram. It was like the epitome of mediocrity. I think his record as a starter is like 60-60-2.
That's great.
So, I mean, that does perfectly sum up Kirk Cousins. It just, I don't know. And I know Jared Goff has made it to the Super Bowl. I think both are pretty much system quarterbacks. So
I'm with you. Okay, hit me with your first one.
Russell Wilson is cooked.
Oh, interesting.
This will build on what I said when we did our NFC West preview about just getting rid of a guy that maybe he's not old, but he's fallen in the pocket trying to move. I think he has 5 rushing yards in 2 games. And if Russell Wilson isn't going to at least run a few hundred yards a year, they've scored, they scored once out of like 6 drives into the red zone. Like I'm sure that will improve. So I don't think it's going to look this bad all year. But if the Russell Wilson of these first 2 weeks isn't drastically better, the Seahawks not only took advantage of the Broncos also just gave this guy $200 million.
Yeah, I would love the trade for Seattle if that happened. I'm going to yellow light it. I see where you're coming from for sure, though. I had one of my hot takes, or Broncos will regret the trade for Russell Wilson. So we'll pass that one, like one of my statement. But he's 26th right now in completion percentage. 16th in QBR. These are some of the quarterbacks that have better QBRs than him: Jacoby Brissett, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota. 16th in QB rating. Same players are playing better than Russell Wilson right now. 2 touchdowns in 2 games. Okay, and I know that. I mean, some people can say, well, his receiving core isn't what they thought it was going to be, but you still had Sutton. The first game you had Sutton, Judy. So I don't know. Yeah, and you got Williams and Gordon. So I'm just saying, like, that looks a little suspect, and I'm with you a little bit there. So I'm going to yellow light that take.
I'll take it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, my next one. Jacksonville Jaguars are the best team in the AFC South. Okay, their offense. What?
That was one of mine, and I'm giving it a green light.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was like, the team I had was let's see here. The team I had to win the division was the Colts, but I said during our preview, I went like I think Luke talked me into picking Jaguars number 2. If Matt Ryan's cooked, this is to me the best team, and the Texans might be the second best team. The way the Titans and Colts have been playing, they are 8th in defense right now, which I think is pretty good. And Lawrence looks better. Christian Kirk, he is earning all those dollars right now. So right now, Jaguars, best team in the AFC South. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I would love to try to dispute that, but as we have touched on earlier, at this point, there's nothing to argue against it.
Fair. Okay, what's your next statement?
The Tennessee Titans will have the worst record in the NFL.
Ooh, that is hot takey.
We went with all the usual suspects of maybe the Falcons, even the Jaguars at times, so I don't think they had the worst one. You think of the Bears, all those teams that we thought, the Texans that we would write off, have looked competitive, and the Titans don't look anywhere in the ballpark of what they've been for the last year. And if teams can load the box like Buffalo, granted it was Buffalo, but if teams can load the box and hold Derrick Henry down, are they going to get more than 3 or 4 wins? I don't know.
That's interesting. I want to red light it just for controversy, but I'm going to yellow light that because I actually sort of agree. It does look like, and when a team like that starts losing, sometimes it's just snowballs throughout the season,
Yeah, and if you get, halfway through the year, you get to week 10 and you're 2-8. Ryan Tannehill, I believe, is in the last year of his deal. I mean, what's to prevent you from being like, all right, well, might as well find out what Malik Willis has, and if he gets in the game, then you're really probably not winning very many games at all.
Correct. They were kind of breaking down one of his passes that he needs to throw off his back foot, not throw off his back foot, plant his back foot for the power to throw it forward, and he has to learn to do that. And they showed a replay in which he didn't do that in last night's game. I'm like, okay, so he's a little bit of ways. He's got a little bit to go. Okay, here's one. This one, okay, we'll see. Browns will be better than the Bengals this year.
I had a Bengals one too, and
you did?
I know. Well, it was different, but I will red light that one for now. Okay,
that's fair. That's fair. But here's my argument. I think that we were so, and I'm at fault here too. We were so focused on the controversy to Deshaun Watson that we forgot how good the rest of this team is. The defense is really good. The offensive line is solid. They got probably the best running back duel in the NFL, next to probably the Packers backfield. You can pick between the two. Cooper is a solid wide receiver. He's more of a glorified like number 2, like he's a really good number 2, but he can get open. He runs real good routes. I like Njoku, and Jacoby Brissett just has to be 5-4. And they almost started out 2-0 if it wasn't for some blunders. Now, maybe they'll blunder the rest of the season away. But me and Travis, when we did the preview for it, we're like, the Browns are a failure. Their season's a failure. And I think we were all hyped up on that Deshaun Watson stuff. On the other hand, the Bengals look like a complete mess on the offensive line. And I don't know, like they didn't verse two very good teams offensively. So if you have those slow starts offensively and you're versing, like, let's say the Ravens or the Chiefs, Chargers, by the time you figure it out, you're not going to be able to catch up. And I think that's the thing I'm worried about with the Bengals. So that's why I put that in there. But red lighting it,
I'm only going to, I think losing the Jets game, I know we only say it's week 2. I think really is going to put him behind the 8 because I think Jacoby Brissett, right? You're playing with fire. You're just hoping each week. But like, if they could have won that game, they play the Steelers this week. You should probably beat the Steelers just with their defense alone. Then they get the Falcons. So if you could start 4-0, right, you have a cushion. But because after that, they get the Chargers, Patriots, Ravens, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills, Buccaneers. Then they get to the Texans. So they have a stretch in there with Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback where your room for error is going to really start shrinking. So I won't go down on the Bengals that hard yet, but
okay.
I think we're right. We did overlook that they do have a good team, and we just kind of focused on their weirdo quarterback being suspended. So
yeah, and the ridiculous trade they made and stuff. Okay. What's your next one?
We'll just keep it in the family. The Bengals won't make the playoffs.
Ooh, I'm going to green light that. I'm going to green light it. Yeah.
Yeah. The same thing with the Bengals. They got a tough schedule. I should say a decently tough schedule. They have some bunnies in here too, but you can't throw away too many games in the AFC, and they were probably actually really benefited by Baltimore tossing that game to the Dolphins, but you can't fall behind too many. Even if you make it as a 7 seed as the Bengals, your odds of getting back to the Super Bowl are tough in the AFC. But like you said, I think you brought it out earlier. I think they're a team too that it could snowball if you lose a couple more games that you shouldn't, and it's getting ugly. And you got guys like Jamar Chase. He's great, but I think he looked a little frustrated in his other game. He wasn't getting the ball for some stretches there, and I don't know. They got a lot of big personalities, I think, and if it snowballs, I think it might snowball hard on them.
Yeah, I agree. Now, just for everybody listening, it doesn't mean that we're out on the Bengals. It's just right now, it just does not look. Unless if they fix their offensive line or get Joe Burrow to stop taking so many hits, it's just going to be a long season for them. And I think too, again, like I just look back at last year. Why are we all so hot on the Bengals this offseason? Well, they made the Super Bowl, but when you look at their path to the Super Bowl, it wasn't like. If it wasn't for a total collapse of one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play football, they probably would have been destroyed in the AFC Championship game, right? Because they were down 24-3 or something by half. So they beat the Titans, right? And they beat the Raiders, and they barely beat both those teams. So I'm just saying, like, possibly we might overrate the Bengals and how along in the progression that they are in because of how far they got instead of focusing on how they got there. Right.
Yeah. And, it's different, but fantasy football wise, not that I wouldn't want Jamar Chase. I have no Bengals in any of my leagues because, all the advanced stats, the touchdown rates, the long touchdowns they have, all that stuff that all went in their favor last year. Just taking a step back in any of those, I think we probably underestimated how big of an impact that is when Jamar Chase doesn't have like 8 60-yard touchdowns, which is unheard of in a season.
Yeah.
I think the teams are doing to them this year what they did to the Chiefs last year, and they're just taking away those big plays, and they're going to make them play patient. And if their offensive line isn't going to be good, and Joe Burrow is not going to get out of the pocket to run and sit in there, he's going to get murdered if he doesn't get rid of the ball quick or develop that patience that Mahomes eventually did towards the end of last year.
Yeah, correct. Okay, let me go ahead and say my last statement. I'm going to put this, the Colts regret picking Matt Ryan over Carson Wentz.
Green.
Green, yeah.
Never
okay.
thought I'd say that, but after 2 weeks, ooh.
Yeah. Carson Wentz has not had a bad first 2 weeks. Yeah, he had a couple turnovers, but I think he leads. Let's see. He has 7 TDs. Matt Ryan, I think, has 1 in the same offense. So there is it's like with someone like Carson Wentz, you got to take the good with the bad. Remember last year he had 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Again, I think something got overblown last year because it's all recency bias. Like the last 2 weeks, he got COVID, and then the last 2 weeks he didn't play well, including that game that he lost to the Jaguars. And it's like, oh, he can't do it. Let's move on to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan did not have a great season last year, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's the team around him. But his arm kind of was looking like it was going a little bit last year. And I kind of like contribute. Maybe he's just not, into the season because he's 4-13 or whatever he was. But yeah, it looks like they might regret trading Wentz, which is interesting to say because
Yeah, and I was just having this discussion with my friends. We were texting about it. Like the Colts have tried to build their roster backwards by trying to build all these positions and then just trying to patch fill a quarterback each year. And each year has pretty much been a washed a washed quarterback. I mean, Wentz isn't washed, but he personality wise did not fit with that team. Seems like to be the issue there. But Phillip Rivers, sure, he put up decent stats, but he was pretty much washed, when it came to teams with a good defense that could get to him. Matt Ryan, same thing. If their offensive line isn't going to be top notch like it's been the last few years, he can't move.
right.
So yeah, they're definitely in trouble if they can't fix that line and make sure Matt Ryan doesn't look like last year of Peyton Manning throwing the ball.
Yeah, correct. Okay, what's your last one?
All right, I'm going to go big with the last one.
Okay.
The Buffalo Bills will go 20-0.
Ooh.
They have a tough schedule. I was looking at it, but the only reason I came to it after watching them the first 2 weeks, like their swagger and their demeanor is not like, hey, all right, we're up 24-7 on the Titans. We're just gonna, we're just gonna pack it in. Same with the Rams. Like they are just out there to just annihilate teams, and it'll be tough. I mean, they play the next games, Dolphins, Ravens, they play the Steelers, and they have the Chiefs and Packers. So and after that, it gets kind of light again. So if they make it through that stretch, I don't know. I'm going to go big with the last one. Just the way they have looked, they have the idea of barring injury of a team that just they want all the smoke.
I wish you would have. I'm gonna green light that. It's hard not to. I want to. It's so hard to win though every single week. It is. But they just looked like they look leaps and like just leaps and it's not like they demolished scrub teams either. Like Titans are like maybe an average team that probably will snowball to maybe a below average. Maybe it could happen. But and then the Rams, they won the Super Bowl last year. It's like they dominated these last 2 games. It will be interesting to see the season. I see them losing to either the Ravens or Chiefs, one of those 2 teams, but I'm going to green light it for the sake of the podcast. And I think Avery might be listening. So Avery, there you go, man.
Yeah. When I watch that again, barring health, because I think they need to keep their 2 safeties and Von Miller healthy on the defensive side, because if they can keep that pass rush, and they've been switching their guys. Gregor Rousseau looks good. This his 2nd year, 3rd year, whatever it is. The way they have that defense, if that pass rush can get there and they can have those back end safeties, I would be really interested when they play the Packers, because I think a team like the Packers, they would treat similar to the way they treated the Rams and just throttle them. The Packers seem kind of one-dimensional right now. But You're right. The Chiefs or Ravens, just Lamar Jackson being able to run, that might throw him off, but I don't know. The way they've looked, and that they have that look in their eye that they're a team that they're not going to be like, well, it's week 17, let's punt it against the Patriots. I'm like, I think week 18 they'd stick it to the Patriots if they got a chance to.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think like right now, I just don't see any team beating them. So speaking of which, are you ready to do our week 3 predictions?